Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. It's the Comic Roundtable, except it's not very round. I'm flying solo today. People had the flu and whatnot, and so it's just me. And we'll see how long I last. I had to work this morning. I was at work at 3 a.m. I didn't get much of a nap. I powered through comics to make sure I'd have some comics read. So I'm going to talk books by myself, and we'll see how long I last. I will attempt to caffeinate myself a little further, and we'll see where we go with this. So I'm going to do the usual Marvel, DC, independent books. That just seems easy. So that's what we're going to do. Book I'm still not caring for. Fantastic Four, issue number 6. I have dropped this book. I probably am getting one more issue before it's all done. This is the start of a new arc, which will give me opportunity to check out, maybe the first arc just wasn't for me. And it's still not for me. I mean, as a long-time reader of the Fantastic Four, I don't feel like it gives me something to really hang on to, why I should care, why I should be invested in these characters. I like Doctor Doom. I like Galactus. So those elements of the book I like. I just don't care about the Fantastic Four and what they've got going on. And I don't know. Maybe that's just my problem. The covers are cool. I'm not necessarily a big fan of the art inside. I'm not sure if it's the coloring or what exactly about it just does not really grab me. So yeah, I think the Fantastic Four has interesting villains. I think the characters themselves can be interesting. But for me, it's blasé. So I'm glad that I'm dropping it. Issue 2 of Conan. Me and Damien Sleepeater 666 kind of beat up the first issue of Conan. I like this issue better, largely for the ending of it, because the first issue ended with these kids. They were supposedly working with this witch, and they were out to get Conan's blood, because Conan blood, as an old man or as a king, Conan was going to be this powerful stuff. And then this issue starts, and it's like it's back in the past sometime. He's wandering through the woods. He's hunting the Pict, which are this tribe of warriors. And he's fighting giant snakes at the same time. It has some great Conan elements as far as that goes. But it's all set in the young time. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the current plot until the very end of it. At the very end of it, those kids are there at the end, and like they're thinking about harvesting some of Conan's blood, and they're like, no, he's not ready yet. So clearly we're showing him gain his power that makes his blood so much better for whatever their spellcrafting they're going to do. The art is fine in it. I really like the covers, but the art inside is fine. The one thing I will say, though, is this book is written, it's all narrated to us. We're not living the story or experiencing the story through Conan's eyes or as a third party to whatever is going on. It's narrated to us. So it has narration boxes. It's basically an illustrated story, more so. Not sure what I think of that. It wasn't truly an illustrated story. I mean, it had sequential art in it. The sequential art mattered. But yeah, it's definitely, this issue is definitely told in a narrative format that I did not notice in the first issue, but it was probably accurate in the first issue too. Is that how Conan books are told to us? They're told to us as a narrative form. I'm trying to remember the old Conans that I have read, if that was the case. And maybe it is. So maybe that's a fine tradition. It's my Marvel books. I don't really have any Marvel news. I don't have any news at all, really. I haven't had time to really keep track of newsy type things. Trying to think, is there anything? I finished season 3 of Daredevil last week. It was excellent. It's by far the best season, I think. It was really good. It was really good. Unfortunate that that's been a canceled kind of a thing, but that's it for news type stuff. Let's talk DC Comics, shall we? We'll start off with Detective Comics. Detective Comics 996. More of this Tomasi written countdown to 1,000 thing. I don't know. Batman has a weird voice in this for me. He seems way more emotional and not quite as rational as what the book as what I'm used to Batman being. I don't know. The first opening pages, it's him finishing up in Arkham. I didn't like that at all. To me, that makes no sense. Him beating up everybody at Arkham to get answers, but doesn't get answers. There's a little bit of good dialogue in here between him and Damian. They're going through a rough patch, and they got to work that out. I don't know if the rough patch was him getting married and not telling Damian until the last moment, or if there's some other rough patch that I'm missing. So he's hunting down people of his past, thinking that's who's coming to get him. That ends up not being the case. They actually, more people in his past get killed. He's still clearly upset over the Leslie Thompson dying thing in it, which is a big deal. But like I said, I just think the voice is a little strange for me. So I started out really liking this arc. With this issue, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it right now. And full disclosure, I've been working, like 15 hours a day kind of a deal. And I'm tired most of the time. And I'm tired when I'm reading this stuff. So maybe I'm tired and I'm not getting it. But yeah, I don't know. Looking at my comments. Comic Book Commentator is here today. How's it going? And he says he's not impressed with FF either. Just rehashing the same old FF stories. To me, FF should be full of creative new ideas and not be a formula. I agree 100%. There's a lot of stuff they could do. And I said, and for me, I haven't read tons of Fantastic Four, but there's nothing to really pull me into that book. I feel like I had to, I feel like reading that Fantastic Four book, I have to already be a fan, and I just have to be happy that it's back. And I think the book should be more than that. So, Wonder Woman, issue number 62. This is the end of the first arc. The end of the first arc for Jula Wilson. This issue was pretty decent, I thought. It sets up what's next, and I'm curious what that's going to be. Except the one complaint I would have is in this at the end of this, there's kind of this dire she needs to find her people and what's happened to the gods and that sort of thing, and it's vocalized that it's seeming very dire, but when I read it, it didn't feel dire. That intensity was not portrayed in it, so I'm just not sure if I'm missing something as far as that goes. But I like how this ends, how it ends with Ares. They're not really enemies, but they're not friends either. Who knows what's going to come of that? Aphrodite is a really interesting character. She seems to be acting like she is going to hang with Wonder Woman going forward. So I don't. I don't know. It's I'm hoping the next arc's gonna be more interesting. I'm gonna hang around for the next arc and see what that stuff is gonna be like. So I am not hating the book, and the way this arc ended lifted it up out of the being terribly mediocre. So I'm gonna hang around for a while longer. I want to be a fan of Wonder Woman, so I guess that's another reason why I'm hanging around. So Aggressive Relaxing says everything Marvel right now seems like a greatest hit in my opinion. You loving Slots FF. That's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. There are some Marvel books that I'm absolutely loving. Immortal Hulk is a favorite book of mine. I mean, in all the books I read, it's a favorite book, which still just shocks me to no end. I like West Coast Avengers. I think it's just a lot of fun. That book is. I'm digging the Miles Morales Spider-Man quite a bit. And trying to think, what are some, there's like one other. Ms. Marvel's about ready to end. I'm curious to see where they go with Ms. Marvel after that. So yeah, there's some good stuff out there. But I'm not feeling the Fantastic Four. It isn't working for me, I guess. Catwoman, issue number 7. So now we're at the point where Julie Jones is not doing the art on the inside. But that's okay if Krasnograd's going to do the art. I really like her art a lot too. She shares art duties in this book with somebody else, so that's a little discombobulating because there's no rhyme or reason as to who did what page. But I like her art. I'm still interested to see where the story goes. Catwoman is kind of is nurturing her sister, which we don't know a whole lot about. Why she goes about being Catwoman in general. Penguin's in this issue. I always like the Penguin and the Catwoman, how they work and or play off of each other. So I'm curious to see where that goes in the book and whatnot. But Krasnograd, she did the art on like Suicide Risk and some stuff like that. So I'm so that's I'm going to keep getting the book. I'm enjoying the storyline. I'm curious to see where it's at. I'm interested in it. So aggressive relaxing. To back up what I'm saying, the Hulk is traveling America. Spider-Man is fighting rogues. There is epic Captain America doing a political thriller. Yep, there's some good stuff going on, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And my final DC book is Justice League Dark issue number 7. This is the only Justice League Dark I am now still have on my pull. I have some more issues coming in of the regular Justice League, but I have since dropped it after reading the last issue a bit. Because it feels like it's just setting up an event that's going to mess with the DC universe, and I don't care for those. I really enjoyed this issue. I enjoyed this issue quite a bit. It's Who Dares Defy the Other Kind. So we're still dealing with the Other Kind, which is the main nemesis of the book since the starting of issue 1 and the whole Wonder Woman witching hour stuff and whatnot. In this, there's like 3 stories in it, and I really, really, really liked it a lot. So it had these like it almost read like an old House of Mystery, something like that. These little short, kind of spooky stories set in the DC universe kind of thing. And we're being told it through Man-Bat. Man-Bat is writing down all these things that they're seeing. We get the implication that writing these stories is a bad thing, because if these stories come into life and get in people's heads, it's going to be harder to get rid of the other kind that's kind of breaking in and stealing the magic and killing all the magic people and whatnot. So that's really interesting. Some of my favorite characters in this, we get a glimpse of iVampire, who I love. That was really well written. It felt like a different story from the other stories that were in it. We get the Agents of Shade in this. So we get Frankenstein and the Creature Commandos, which are awesome characters. That's a book that still needs to come back, in my opinion. So the little tidbit of them we get is really cool. But yeah, really, this is a really good issue where it sets up these elements of this greater threat. I mean, now the Other Kind feels more insidious as they're slowly working their way into the subconscious of people and sinking their claws into the psyche of Earth so they can take over and whatnot. All kind of really cool elements and whatnot. So really, really enjoyed it a lot. So yeah. Excuse me while I take a drink. DC news. I can't think of any. right offhand. Nope. Nope. Whatever it is, it must not be too important, right? So let's jump into my independent books, which I have a gobload of them. I'm going to kind of blow through them unless something strikes me as to really talk a ton about. We are at Evolution issue number 13. They're in California now, heading to LA. The different groups are starting to come together. Our scientist is in LA taking his kid on a vacation while still trying to push the government into admitting this evolution type thing is going on. Our young woman and her girlfriend has evolved. She's dealing with the cult. Is it a cult? You know, what that sort of thing. And the nun who is from Italy, who was last time we were in Germany, she is now in America, driving up the interstate into LA also, with the military group of people. So we're all right on the verge of them all kind of running into each other. These three different groups that we've been reading for 13 issues by the end of this are really, really close to each other. There are pages in this where you can see stuff going on in the background, and ultimately that stuff that's going on in the background is actually another group of one of these characters and whatnot. Just really curious to see how it's all what's gonna happen. I mean, clearly large portions of the human race is becoming what looks like monsters. It's evolving to deal with the new environment that we've created on Earth with the global, with the climate changes and all that sort of stuff. You know, the Earth is rejecting humankind, and maybe this is going to push us back to an older time. All interesting stuff and quite horrific. So really curious to see where that ultimately ends up going to. It'll be really curious to see what that is. Issue 3 of Lodger, by the Lamphams, of famed Stray Bullets. Stray Bullets is still the superior read to this. I'm actually, the first 2 issues of this, I was a bit nervous because I would tell people, oh man, you should just pick this up. If you've always been curious about Stray Bullets, pick this up and you're going to get something that's something like it. And then the first 2 issues, I'm like, don't know. I'm kind of worried that I made that recommendation. Issue 3 kind of cements it all down for me, though. Lets me know I'm on the right path of a great comic. You know, we get into the serial killer aspect of this lodger who's going around writing a travel blog and killing people along the way, and this young woman named Ricky who is trying to track him down for basically having destroyed her life in some sense and then left her. So yeah, just some really interesting and starting to get into some twisted stuff. So definitely looking forward to where the book goes. I have no idea how many issues it is. I don't remember if it even says in here. It doesn't. So I don't know. I do not know how many issues this thing ultimately will end up being. But yeah, I like this issue. It had some kind of crazy fun stuff going on in it. So let's see. What else? Let's talk a Vertigo book. It's not a Sandman Universe book. Goddess Mode, issue number 2. Beautifully illustrated book by Robbie Rodriguez with great colors by Rico Ramirez. So it's kind of a near future cyberpunkish sort of a thing, in that there is a cyber reality. We find out that some people are being sucked into the reality. They're being attacked by, there's this, okay, back up a little bit. So the internet in this is kind of a living IA in a sense. We find out that there's an actual reality there that nobody understands how it really works, but there is this internal reality. Some people are physically pulled into the virtual reality. These demons are trying to consume them. Some people, most people get consumed and die, and they just disappear. Nobody knows what happens to them. Occasionally, individuals can fight back and get away, and their physical form is in this virtual reality place, and then they have, you know, kind of like virtual cyber superpowers. And then they can go back into the physical world and they retain some of that power. Not as great, but they retain some of that power. So our main character has encountered these 3 other women who have these powers and save her and kind of halfway explain to us, the reader, and the main character, what is going on. And it's largely her just kind of taking a sanity dump and kind of going, no, I don't, this can't be real. Maybe it is real, sort of a thing. And then there's a tragic monster attack at the end of it. I like it. First 2 issues. I find it intriguing. It's interesting seeing what's going on, where it's going to go. Like I said, I really like the Robbi Rodriguez art. It's cool. It's flashy. I'm the first to say I like near future cyber type stuff. Kind of things I always find intriguing. This is where the demons that are coming to get them, sort of a thing. And their virtual cells look all kind of cool and wild looking and whatnot. And they battle these things, and some bad stuff happens at the end of it. But yeah, I like the first 2 issues. They're pretty interesting. It's curious to see where it goes to. How does this girl deal with the fact her personal life? She is a wreck. Her dad is in this kind of strange coma, and she's trying to figure that part of her life out. Her financial life is a disaster also. She's kind of addicted to the internet in one sense or another, and then she has this whole other thing going on. She's like, I just don't have time for this. And they basically tell her it doesn't matter whether you have time or not, it's happening to you. There's a choice in the matter. They're going to keep hunting you, and you just need to keep fighting. So you might as well hang with us, because that's going to be the easier fight. So, but I like it. Like the first 2 issues. The final issue of Shadow Man, issue number 11. Strange to end on number 11, right? This felt to some degree like a quick wrap up, and also unfortunate in the fact that finally by the end of this issue, Shadow Man, he has embraced that's what he is. He has come to terms with the Loa that he holds in him. And so like now you get the feeling, hey, he's actually going to go out and be Shadow Man, and not, this character has been fighting being Shadow Man for a couple volumes of this book now. And he's embraced that. Great. Now he can go on and be kind of a, voodoo superhero sort of a thing or whatever. Nope. The book ends. The book ends with him kind of getting his, fighting the good fight and winning. And then it ends with the elements are still out there that he needs to fight, but he's at least come to terms with that, and that's it. And I don't know of any more coming forward. Once again, some of the art here is really good. It's this painted looking stuff. And then when they're in the realm of the dead, it's very sloppy feeling to me. So love the art when they're in the real world operating, when they're in the land of the dead, not so much. Deadly Class is back. Issue 36? Yep, 36. This entire issue is a really bad peyote trip of self examination for Marcus. It's excellent in that. And by the end of it, he kind of, comes out of his dream state and has what he feels like is some resolution as to what he needs to do, and how he's going to deal with the situation he's in, where he's being hunted by possibly the school, people from the school, and people from Maria's past, and all of that, and how is that all going to play out. There are 10 more issues, I believe, of this, possibly, and then maybe it's done. At least in the back matter, Rick Remender says that he has 10 more issues. So I don't know. I'm always nervous that the TV show, he's putting so much energy into the TV show that means we might lose the comic. I think the comic is superior. The TV show is awesome. I've seen the first 2 episodes. I really like it a lot. It is very close in a lot of ways to the comic book. It's the timelines that stuff happens is they're playing a little fast and loose with, as far as incomparable to comics. But there's definitely scenes in the TV show that are directly from the comic, And there's stuff in the TV show that they couldn't have put in the comic that are awesome in the TV show. Like there's one scene in this week's episode 2 where Marcus is walking in the hall and he's kind of, he's inner monologue, which I love about the TV show. Lots of inner monologue, just like comics. He's walking down the hall, kind of talking about school life and whatnot. And he's looking through a doorway and the cheerleaders are there doing their cheers. And it is like a direct homage to Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is of the era. It's just really cool. Some really good stuff in there. But anyway, Deadly Class continues to be an excellent book. This issue, you could have a certain amount of criticism, I guess, of it that does a lot of navel gazing. But that's really what Marcus needed right now, was to kind of get his head, in some sense, screwed back on to decide where does he want to go from here. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to what's next in the book, of course. We're winding down to the end of Wicked and Divine. This is issue number 41. I don't believe there's too many more issues left. All kinds of shit is hitting the fan in this. People are getting some bodies back. I just don't know exactly where it's going to go from here. It's hard to talk about the book unless you're somebody else who reads it, because some of the stuff is so, it's such a slow moving payoff, but really good because you get the payoff. And I'm really enjoying that. I'm looking forward to it coming to an end, just because then I'm also looking forward to sitting down and reading this thing straight through again to see the subtle stuff that maybe I missed along the way. So many great characters in this, so many kind of pop culture homages and stuff like that. I don't know, really continue to enjoy the book. You can clearly see an end is coming. Gideon Falls, excellent comic book. The panel work in this is so good, as these two realms that seem to be Gideon Falls. This one with Norton and his psychologist, who are trying to rebuild the door to the Black Barn, and then Father Ted, I think his name is Ted, and him being in Gideon Falls and trying to figure out what's going on with this Black Barn. Also, both characters have come to a place they think where the original barn was at. We actually get an origin story of potentially the first sighting of the barn when the plowman first work came about and whatnot. And we get this, as that gets closer and closer, we get this this great panel, this great double page spread. And it is the Norton half here, as he's at this like garbage dump and he realizes that's where he came from. And then we get Father Ted here, and he is at the landfill there in Gideon Falls. See how it mirrors the two things, the panels. It's just really, really cool. And then it ends up doing a lot more of that as it twists their two stories together, and we can physically see it twisting. And they both come to this key. They put the key in, and it opens, and we get this other double page spread of the Black Barn, colored a little differently because they're both in their different places. Here's the priest, and here is Norton and the psychologist. All these bags of garbage around, and just the build up to it. This stuff. Sarantino's panel work is just super smart to get us to that kind of stuff. I really like it. Of course, this is the regular cover with there's always a face. There's always a headshot in the covers. I'm now pondering this one. If you can see the headshot, the profile, please explain to me what it is. My daughter says that she can see it in that this silhouette is the nose and these are eyes, but that doesn't match up to how all the other covers work. So is this the break? Is this next issue 11? Is it the break from the profile shot headshots that we get on all the other covers? I don't know, but just excellent. The book has really gotten really good. Not that it was ever bad, but each issue really builds on a great horror story. We just don't know for sure what is going on. And speaking of horror stories, A Walk Through Hell, issue number 7, continues to just be an amazing read. The dialogue of the characters is outstanding, both when the creepy stuff is happening and when they're just living their lives and having typical conversations about life, about arguments, about representation, about just the stuff that people talk about in their normal lives, and what's going on in America right now, and all that kind of stuff. Really, really good, really creepy. This issue pushes the walk through hell, the hell part of this, to a new point, in that potentially we are dealing with the Antichrist. Really, really cool. Because now that he said some of the stuff he said, you could kind of work your way back through scenes that we've had in earlier issues. And literally they're walking down the same path, the same biblical path that, the Bible says Christ went through. As far as birth and all that kind of stuff. So really interesting kind of stuff. And so I just absolutely love this book. If you like horror, creepy sort of thing, I highly recommend this book. It is excellent. Excellent. Garth Ennis and Goran Sudaka's just super good book. Super, super good. Really, really interesting stuff. Let's not go out on a low note. So I have not really been reading the House of Whispers. It is the one of Sandman Universe, but I haven't really been caring for. So I kind of like flipped through and browse them. The last issue, this is issue number 5. I actually read this issue because right down there it says that Dan Watters is one of the writers in the book, which is a new edition. And Dan Watters writes Lucifer, which is my favorite of the Sandman Universe books right now. So I was like, okay, so what's that going to be? So so I read it. There are elements of the book I like. I still like the idea of the book. Execution of it's shaky in places still. And I'm not sure that I like the bits and pieces more because he had something to do with it. And I really like his writing, but I can point to something in the book and say, yeah, that's Dan Watters right there. Or am I starting to like it more because it's actually getting somewhere at this point? I don't know. Still not a favorite of mine. Isla, issue number 6, I want to say. Still a beautifully illustrated book. Minimal words on this adventure of trying to get this queen back to some place to lift this curse off of her, so she's no longer stuck being this tiger, this soldier, this captain that is helping her along the way. They've got this slow crawl across a world that's got a lot of people that are out to get the queen. But it is a gorgeous book. It is a gorgeous book. There they are sleeping together. Somebody's calling to the queen from the water. There's this person in the water. The tiger can see her. It's like her mother. And once her mother engages with her, she is her human form again, or she's seeing herself in human form. This all seems to be some sort of illusion. Maybe it's something that was trying to drown her, but she is broken out of it at one. But just a beautiful, beautiful book. Minimal words, but the storytelling's all there. Wonderful sequential art. The visuals of the book are gorgeous. Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. How are they going to break this curse and whatnot. It's a book that, despite not telling me a lot of story written wise, visually it's got a lot of really good elements to it. And it's just so pretty. It doesn't matter whether it's moving somewhere fast or not, for sure. And the last book I'm going to talk about, because when it's just me talking, I'm fairly quick at all this, obviously, is the final issue of Days of Hate. This is a book I'm going to go back and reread. It ended quietly. It ended quietly, and it ended on a, I don't know if it's going to get any better kind of a statement, kind of a thing, which makes perfect sense. That's kind of the world in some sense or another. But there were characters I feel like we didn't have an ending. And granted, no story has to tell me an ending for everybody. But I kind of wanted to know what happened. So we are left with the final person that's left, and it was not the focus of the story, not this woman who was going out at the beginning and killing white supremacists, or what then later on tended to be the larger portion of the story, her ex-wife, an Asian American woman who had been picked up by Homeland Security because they wanted to get information out of her to find her ex-wife. But it has to do with the ex-wife's partner, this final issue. Kind of settle some stuff down and stuff at the end of it. Like I said, so it ends quietly. But I really did like the book. I will still say that there are some issues of this that has some of the best storytelling of certain elements that I've read in comic books. Really struck me as being really, really good. So I continue to be an Alice Cott fan, the writer. Just, excellent stuff. And I know that the Gigelle's art is not for everybody, the super dark, heavy inked stuff. I like it. It would not be something that you necessarily want every kind of story to be told in. But I love the deep, heavy, dark inks with the right kind of storytelling, the right environment and whatnot. And it is good just because it is this heavy, dark, and powerful thing. So good stuff. Good stuff. So I'm done, and I can jump into next week's comics, which I'm excited about because, of course, it has that Immortal Hulk in it and some other books that I'm looking forward to. But I'm going to call it a night because it's right about now is this whole week is when I've been going to bed. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be up. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to me talk to myself. Oh, independent news. Let's check it out a second here. Comic book commentator. Indie news. After a year and 2 months, the next issue of Black Money Murders is finally coming out in April. Seriously? Yes! I was worried that we were never going to get that book back. Has it really been a year and 2 months? I'm stoked. I'm assuming it's all the same normal people on the book. I'm super stoked. That book was so rich, and has all these really cool elements in it that they've kind of just touched on in those final issues. So now, where is the detective going to take this story, or is his part of the story done? I don't know. And the magic, I don't know, familiar, that woman that's all white and whatnot. How does that play? These school of economic magics and whatnot. Black Money Murders is an awesome book. The coloring in it is like next level to really punch the elements that you need to have happen at the right times and whatnot. So super stoked to have that back. I look forward to April. So I think next month when I order comics, that means it'll be on the list of things for me to order. So I'm stoked for that. I'm stoked for it because that book is just excellent. Yeah, right on. Good news. That's a good thing to end the show on. Thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully I will be back next week. Maybe I'll be a little more awake, and maybe I'll have some of the people on the show. There were people who wanted to come on this week, but the flu, it does that to us. So anyway, have a good weekend, everybody, and I will catch you next time. Have a good night.